Okay, good morning. I'm here with my friend Norma, and I'm going to teach her how to separate a canna from a pot. Norma's going to ask me some questions, and we'll just go along that way.
Okay, Mary, good morning. Thank you for coming to our house. So let's begin. Obviously, I'm not an experienced gardener, so I've been led through your help. So here I'm going to be learning about separating. So my first question is, why do we need to separate them?
Okay, so we need to separate cannas because they will get they won't get the nutrients that they need once the canna gets too full, the pot gets too full. They multiply fast. If you could see here, you have probably about 10, 11, 12, we could even say rhizomes at the bottom, but they become plants at the top and then they flower. You want to separate them to give them room. Cannas need room. So you separate them, you give them room, they'll have the nutrients that they need, they will flower more, they will multiply faster, and that's why we love cannas, because we can make so many plants out of just one plant. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to make Norma about 3 new planters that she can make out of just this one plant that she bought. Okay?
And I think I paid maybe about $30, so it's been a very good investment. So
Yeah,
we're ready to separate these.
Yes, absolutely. You will make a lot more from this. You'll make 3 pots today, but after you make those 3 pots, you'll make another 6, 7. You can put them in the different locations of your yard. So yes, it's a great investment. You can't go wrong with buying a canna. Even if you pay $30, it's well worth it.
And how many are you going to put in each pot?
Okay, the way that I do that is I kind of just look at the canna. You want to separate them in the right location. So once I take them out, I'll use a knife. To me, it's a lot simpler to use a knife, and I'll show you why. I'll see the spaces, like right here, I have a perfect space. So this will be one pot. We'll cut here. And here, I'll go this other way, and I have another space here, and this will create 2 more plants. But I'll show you as I go along right now when I take it out, okay?
Okay.
So we're going to take it out now.
And how do we do this?
Okay, so people are really scared to take out cannas because they think they're going to hurt the plant. Don't ever think that. Cannas are hardy. You cannot hurt them. Even if I were to chop all of this down, which I have done before, and people are like, no, don't do that. It's fine. They will come right back up. They will make new rhizomes, they'll make new leaves. And that's why I do this in the fall to all my cannas. I cut all the foliage all the way down. And in the spring, you have beautiful green foliage. And people have seen it on my Facebook page where I put the canna pictures of the foliage, how beautiful it is. And that's because I cut them all the way down. The foliage will become old. It'll become burned by the end of the fall. You want to get rid of all of this eventually, Norma. You're going to have to cut all of these down even if you don't want to.
That's painful.
Okay, so that's fine. So don't be afraid. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this whole pot out of cannas. You could do it a lot of different ways, but it's very simple because look what I've done. See? Easy. So you got all of that. This is the root. Look at how root bound it is. Look at all the roots that it has. So now you can see there's still soil in here. It wasn't too bad. I've seen them worse. But you can see it's going to need new soil. You can see all the roots. Here you can see clearly. Don't be afraid. Here is where we're going to start cutting. So this is one. I'm going to make one plant here. I like to do this because then I don't really disturb it that much, which it doesn't really matter, but it'll be easier to pot it.
And Mary, what is the difference between the leaves? Because people talk about the darker leaves and then the green leaves.
Okay, so what I found in my own experience with cannas and growing them is that the green leaf variety will take our Arizona heat a lot better. Maybe in other states, in California, in other states, they're fine in full sun and they love the sun. Cannas do need sun to flower. But in Arizona, the green variety takes the sun a lot better than your foliage that's darker, the darker leaves foliage. Those need a lot more shade in the summer. Now, if you have them in a pot, you could put them in the sun during the winter and they're great because they'll flower even sooner in the spring. So they're kind of tricky here because of our temperature and our weather. But you can see here how I cut it, how easy it fell apart. So this will be, for Norma, will be a completely new planter. And here you have 3, 4 plants here. Wow. Then these will multiply into another 8 or 9 or 10 in a pot.
So eventually, if I wouldn't have done this, because I noticed that the plant was just too much for the pot that it was in. Let's just say I never decided to separate them, would that damage
Yes.
it damage it? Would it kill it? What?
Eventually it can, because what's going to happen is all these roots are going to take up all the soil. You're going to water it. You're going to lose your nutrients. As you're watering things in pots, that's the problem with it, is that you either have to repot them into a larger pot to add nutrients, compost. And so eventually, that's why a lot of the times these cannas stop flowering on people. And they show them to me on videos or on photos, and I can see why they're not flowering anymore. The plant doesn't have any nutrients, and it doesn't have any space.
Okay.
See, this one still had it. It's still good. You could see there's plenty of soil, but this is still a good time for you to repot them and then put them in different pots so you can get more. You'll be able to multiply them faster instead of waiting for the pot to just, be completely. But let me show you here. We can make another, how easy it is. So here I'm going, and you can cut right into this rhizome. Nothing's going to happen. As long as you get some rhizome and some roots, you should be fine. Here we'll make another. So here we go. We'll make another plant right here. So you just go here, just like if you're slicing a cake. Look at how
You can
easy
actually
this-
hear it.
You can hear them. See, here you go, and you can actually see the rhizomes here. See that I cut. Those are it, and then but they have plenty of rhizome, they have plenty of roots. So here you make 3 plants out of 1, and this is a beautiful. Look at how beautiful this. Show how beautiful the color of this canna, and it's actually one of the tall ones, which is really pretty. I love the ones that are tall. So, anyways, we have 3 here. Now ask.
So this one, right? So my question is, I've done both, but I've seen more success one way versus the other. But I'm gonna ask the expert, which is you, what is better for them, the ground or the pots?
Okay, so they're both good, but I'll tell you how I start my cannas. I always start my cannas in a pot. There's a couple of reasons why you want to start them in a pot. One is you get to know your cannas. Cannas are all different. There's all kinds of different varieties. Some of them need to be babied more. Some of them are very hardy, and they all tend to do well. But if you get to know them better in a pot first, then you will know in what location of your yard. Okay, this one needs more sun. This one needs more shade. So I always start them in the pot, because then I can move them around too in the summer, especially when you don't know them. If you're new to cannas, that's a great start, like you did. You
Yes.
bought one in a pot. You know how you've been able to move it around. Now you know your canna. You can now explore and say, hey, well, I want a couple in a pot, but I want to try one in the ground and see how it does. So even from here, we can go ahead and cut, let's say here, if you wanted to, and you could start 1 in the ground. You got plenty here to start some in the ground and some in the pots. They do great in the ground because they have the room to grow and expand. But pots are also great. You could just make sure that if you like them, like you say you like them better in pots, that you always just upsize them in size in pots, and then give them room to multiply, and you could always make more. So I have 50% in pots and 50% in the ground, because I like them in both.
Okay. I think once our microclimate grows more, then I will feel more confident in putting them on the ground.
Yeah.
As big as they are. So when repotting them, how big should a pot be?
Okay, so that's another good question. The pot, people think that they need to be deep. They're thinking, oh, the deeper the pot, the more
Like
room
the one on the ground.
Yeah, the more. Let's give an example of this one right here. The more room the canna's going to have. But with cannas, they don't go deep. The roots don't go deep. The rhizomes actually like to be kind of shallow on top. If you also plant the rhizomes too deep, they don't do well.
Okay.
So what's more important is that the pot is wider. So here, if you can see the 2 sizes, I would clearly go for the one that's wider, which is this one, even though it's not that deep.
Okay.
Because this will give the rhizomes more room to expand than this one, because they don't go deep. So don't worry about how deep the pot is how wide. The wider, the better for these.